What's up, you guys? Jalen Hawk here, as always, bringing with anime manga reviews, and I'm here with another video. So today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite Kakujas, and before we continue on, one thing I should say, like I do in every other video, this will contain spoilers, so if you happen to be an anime only, or if you are not caught up with the manga as of yet, I strongly suggest you not check out this video because this will contain spoilers for several different Kakuja reveals that will be shown in the next season of the Tokyo Ghoul anime, as well as later on in the Tokyo Ghoul manga. So, there's your warning. If you continue on from here, don't blame me for being spoiled. So, yeah, let's continue on. Now, one thing I do want to say is this top 5 list was suggested to me by one of my subscribers in my video from yesterday where I talked about the top 10 strongest characters in Tokyo Ghoul, in my personal opinion. Link to that video will be in the description down below. And yeah, so in reality, this list was actually kind of difficult to make because there isn't that many Kakuja users in the entirety of the Tokyo Ghoul series. There's about 16 of them if you incorporate Rize and the Naga Serpent version of, or the Naga Serpent of the One-Eye King or Dragon Kaneki or whatever. There's only about 16 of them. And if you take them out, then it's dropped down to 14. So yeah, there's really not that many people to choose from. Now, in order to make this list not super repetitive, I also decided to kind of cut down on certain Kakujas that look very similar to one another. So I decided to only choose one person of the Owl line because in reality, Yoshimura, Eto, Takizawa and Amon, even though they do look different in their own ways, they do seem relatively similar to one another, and they kind of take up 4 slots, so I don't want to incorporate all of them, so I only chose one, and yeah, so besides that, let's continue on. Oh, one thing I do want to also say is these are just my personal favorites. These are not really based off of overall, like strength or anything like that. And when it comes to certain characters who have multiple variants of their Kakuja, I will specify which version of it I do like the best. So yeah, let's jump right into this video with the number 5 spot. So the number 5 spot on this list, and my 5th favorite version of a Kakuja, is actually Kurina's. And that might be really surprising to a lot of people, but if you guys didn't know, I'm a pretty big fan of Kurina. I've always liked Kurina. I thought she was really cool. Unfortunately, she didn't really get the screen time that she deserved in the Tokyo Ghoul manga, and she probably won't in the anime either, but I always thought that her Kakuja was very unique, despite it being only utilized, I think, once, if I'm not mistaken. I think no, we saw it a few times during Real Island. We saw her fight against Suzuya with it, and I believe she also fought against Ogahira and the rest of Kano's lab rats in that fight as well, and I think she might have used it in the Roma Shigure fight, but I'm not 100% sure there. Either way, I thought Kurina's Kakuja was really cool. The fact that she gains multiple Kagane-like limbs, and she actually gains multiple eyes as well across her face, I thought was really cool. The whole entire spider theme was something I really wanted, and I thought that when seeing someone like Uta, for example, I thought that was going to be the motive that he gets, or even Mutsuki, based off of the whole entire Black Widow sub-theme that she has going on with her and her overall romantic interest to Kaneki. So I'm very happy that we got to see an arachnid-type Kakuja in the story, and Kurina's Kakuja, even though it wasn't shown that much, it's definitely marked its way as one of my favorites. So let's continue on forward. So the number 4 spot is a character that, surprisingly enough, I'm not really that fond of. I actually kind of don't like this character that much at all. And that is Tatsura. Now, Tatsura, even though I feel like he was kind of wasted, and I feel like the whole entire Tatsura-Hoji fight where Hoji whooped his ass, was pretty cool, even though it was very short. I feel like it should have been drawn out, and we should have gotten a Tatsura flashback. That would have been very nice, Ashita. But obviously, your interests were in a different side of things regarding TG at the moment, because there was a lot of hype stuff that happened after that fight. But Tatsura's Kakuja is freaking awesome. Like, he takes the appearance of like this massive behemoth dragon dinosaur thing that breathes fire. Like, yo, that's awesome. I'm not gonna lie. Like, he gets like these giant like Kagane like fist hand things, and then he's able to like just knock people around. He spews fire from his mouth that apparently I'm not sure if Tatsura in particular can get up to this heat. I kind of doubt it just due to the fact that someone like Akira, who I'm not saying is weak, by the way, but Akira is able to kind of resist the fire with her own Quinke. Like, it's cool. I thought it was pretty badass. Unfortunately, we only got to see him use it one time, and in that fight, he took a well, technically 2 fights, but the Hoji fight was interrupted, and Takizawa hopped in, and Takizawa just, like, annihilated him. But either way, Tatsuru's Kakuja, I thought was very cool. It was very unique, and it's by far probably one of the most unique Kakujas out of all of them on this list, as well as in the entire series. So, yeah, now let's continue on to the next person on this list. So, number 3 on this list might surprise a few people that it's actually this low, and it got in the middle and not in the top as number 1 or number 2, but it's actually probably the most iconic Kakuja on this list, either the most iconic or the second most iconic, and that is Eto's Kakuja. Eto, I think, has a really cool Kakuja. It's by far one of the largest Kakujas in the story, either hers or Amon's, I'm not really sure. It's between one of those, and okay, technically, it would be the dragon variations of the Kakujas that we've seen in the story, but if we're counting the normal Kakujas, like the Kakujas that you get from just normal cannibalism and not some extremely ridiculous process, Eto or Amon, I would probably lean more towards Eto, has by far probably one of the largest Kakujas in the entire series. It has several cool abilities, and the overall aspect of the fact that Eto's Kakuja, and the one that I'm talking about in particular, because it does change in variation slightly throughout the story, is the one that we actually see during the events of the Kaneki and Eto altercation, where it has this really grotesque mouth. It's ginormous. You see where she's running on the side of a building, almost like she's a combination of like an owl and like a spider and like a weird monster. And like Kaneki's running away from her, and he actually looks scared in the manga version, not in the anime version, where he has a stone face the entire time. And they play half at Shirazu's funeral, which was still very stupid studio period. But I digress. Eto's Kakuja, I think, is really cool, and the fact that it has like a unique attack at the during the fight with all the members of CCG, I thought was really cool. Because pretty much in the final fight, or one of the final fights, you have where like Eto's able to like condense her Ukaku shards into like this Ukaku beam like ring thing, and it just like destroys everything in its path, and it's really cool. So Eto's Kakuja, it's up there. It's definitely one of my favorite designs in all of like TG, and by far probably like my 3rd favorite design of all the Kakujas in Tokyo Ghoul. So let's move on to the next person on this list, because I don't want to sit here talking about Eto forever, because I can go on for a while. So number 2 on this list is actually going to be very surprising to people, and the fact that I put this character above Eto might piss off a lot of people, but Roma's Kakuja. I think Roma's Kakuja is really cool for various reasons, mainly due to the fact that out of all the Kakujas we see in the story, it's by far has like a weird mixture of being intimidating and extremely goofy at the same exact time. And I'm pretty fond of Roma, even though she's not like in my top 10 favorite characters or anything like that. I like her goofy personality. I like the fact that she's very laid back, and she's also kind of cocky at the same time. And I like to see the comedic element of her. I was actually very sad when she did end up dying against Best Boy. But Roma's Kakuja was really cool. Seeing the way how she just kind of like, she gets like multiple limbs, right, on her Kakuja. And like she has this giant bulbous head, and you have where Roma's body's literally hanging out from like the center of the head. And when Roma's making like a goofy expression, the Kakuja does as well, which I think is really funny. It's almost more like she summons like an avatar than her actually being it like a Kakuja, like in a Kakuja, in comparison to other people, where like usually they get some type of armor, or they're like in a giant monster, like in the case of Eto, since her Kakuja is vastly larger than her, very similar to Roma. It's just very interesting in that regard. And I believe, like, in Roma was one of the few people who actually has the official, like, triple S rating, which was also really cool. And I don't know, it's just, Roma's Kakuja is just very odd looking, and I think maybe it's because I really do like her fight with Ure, but it just stands out to me, and I really like it. So, yeah. Now, the last person on this list, I feel like is probably very obvious, and that is Kaneki. Kaneki, he's one of my favorite characters of Tokyo Ghoul. He was bound to be on this list. He's by far probably like one of the strongest characters in Tokyo Ghoul, and you have where he has one of like some of the coolest Kakuja designs as well. Now, the one in particular I'm talking about, we only saw for a brief second, but it's the one that he used in his fight against Suzuya and Abra, which I thought was really cool. It has like almost like a dragon-like design, which might have been like really good foreshadowing to what was going to come like about like 2 chapters later, but I really like the design. He gets like this half mask across his face, his hair like frays out, and he gets like this really cool Kagane dragon-like arm, and it just looks really badass. It's by far the most badass like design I've seen in this story. And I just really like the way how it looks. Now, I would probably say that the most iconic version of Kaneki's Kakuja that most people usually reference back to is the Centipede version, which I do also like quite a bit. In reality, I kind of like all of Kaneki's Kakujas, except, I guess, the one that he had against Arima, because that one didn't really have a definite form because it was mainly forming throughout the entire fight. And the final one that he has in the story when he fights against Furuta, if you even consider that a Kakuja, is also cool as well. But I think that it is a pretty cool design, and I like it. So, anyways, I guess to make like an honorable mention of another character who actually I wanted to put on this list, but I thought of other characters that I liked a little bit more. I also really like Uta's Kakuja. I think it has a really cool design. The fact that it has the whole entire no-face aspect of him, I think is really cool. And the fact that it seems like Uta gets even more buff while he's in his Kakuja, and larger as well, and he has like this giant mouth over like the weird tendrils on his head, I also think is really, really cool. But, anyways, that's kind of all I have for this list. You know, just comment down below what are your favorite Kakujas in TG? Like, we have, a handful of them, so I'd imagine that a lot of people's lists are probably very similar, but I'm just very curious. And if you guys do choose someone who happens to have multiple variations of their Kakuja, it would be great if you guys can specify which variation of it you like the best too. So, anyways, thanks for watching. Remember to comment, subscribe as always, guys. I love you all. Jalen Hawk, signing out. See you guys.